Shem Yahawashi for waking us up on this beautiful Shabbat to bring out the word and embrace the laws, statutes, and commandments that were given to our people. Bless us to edify those who have an ear to hear and their spirits bear witness to the truth if they are children of the Most High, the so-called blacks, the so-called Native Indigenous, the so-called Hispanic, Latino communities that are spread abroad, not only on this continent, but continents all across this planet, be it as it may. So Tawada Mashpaka for coming out, Tawada for being that living sacrifice the scriptures tell us to be, and lifting up thy voices like trumpets to wake up our people. If I can, please have Colossians, what is it, 16? 3:16, Baba Kasha. Bring that out, and we could open up and let the people know what we're doing out here today.
Colossians chapter 3, verses 16 and 17.
Bring it out.
Let the word of Hamashiach dwell in you richly in all wisdom, teaching and admonishing one another in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, singing with grace in your hearts to the Lord. And whatsoever ye do in word or deed, do all in the name of the Lord Yahawashi, giving thanks to Yahawah and the Father by him.
Khan, the Water King. And that's mighty, that's a mighty precept, and I always appreciate when we bring that out, because that's exactly what we're doing, is we're teaching and admonishing, through word and deed. It would be highly hypocritical if we were telling people to do something and we weren't doing it ourselves. And we know for those that are reading the Bible that if we see that word hypocrite, it's not a good thing. And so we don't want to be hypocrites. We don't want to just tell you what the word says. We don't want to be the Pharisees that says, roughly paraphrasing, do what they say, but don't do as they do. What precept is that? Matter of fact, let's just bring that out. Matthew 23 from the top, King. Because we're out here, as a reminder to our people that we need to wake up and adhere to the laws, statutes, and commandments that were given to our people. And so, we got to live them to be able to teach them. Go ahead and bring that out, King.
This is the book of Matthew, chapter 23 and verse 1.
Wake them up.
Then spake Yahawashi to the multitude and to his disciples, saying, the scribes and the Pharisees sit in Moses' seat. All therefore whatsoever they bid you observe, that observe and do. But do not ye after their works, for they say and do not.
Khan. So at the beginning of that, he said the scribes and Pharisees sit in the seat of Moses. And for those that are familiar with the book of Exodus, when Moses was giving the laws, statutes, commandments to Yasharallah from the Most High, he was telling them, tell these people the law, statutes, commandments. And so these scribes and Pharisees, that's what they were doing. They were bringing out the law, statutes, commandments to the people. But as the precept says, listen to what they say, because they're speaking out of the book and bringing out the truth. Right. But don't do as they do, because behind closed doors, they were doing things that were wicked and were completely against what the word of the Most High that they were bringing out said to do. So that is why with that precept that Ak Yakanan brought out. How's it going today, brother? You got a minute of your time for the word of God? Okay. Well, just want to let you know today is the Shabbat, and we should not be working. And even though we're in this captivity, there are laws for us to observe our beliefs. So if you can, and if you are a child of God, you are able to tell your work that you do not work on the Sabbath. So if you have time, brother, please come back, get a flyer. If you have a Bible, read it. Understand the law, statutes, commandments were given to the so-called blacks, the so-called Hispanic, and so-called Native Indigenous community. We are, in fact, the Hebrew Israelites the Bible speaks of as his chosen people, brother. So be safe, stay diligent, read the word, and adhere to it. We're always here, Yahawah willing, to edify our people, teach and admonish, and to do as the word and live it, like Brother Uriel was bringing out in that precept. So Salaki, I lost my train of thought, but that's all right, because when we see our people, we need to take that time to reach them with the word. And I know when I first came into this truth and I was given the opportunity. Got any questions, ma'am? Okay, fantastic. Yep. So I know when I got into this and I started bringing out the word, I would be at home and I would study and I would have notes, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna come out and I'm just gonna read these notes. But then, I didn't realize or acknowledge that our people were walking by and I wasn't casting out that bait to reel them in to be a fisher of men with the word. I was just out here, bringing out the word and saying it, prophesying to the wind, so to speak. So if one of my brothers could bring out the Hebrews, no, is it James where lift up thy voice like a trumpet? Isaiah 58 months, lock it, the Water King. I'm drawing blanks, that's the comforting thing for me is I know the word in my heart, but I can't always remember the precepts or whatnot. Shalom, brother. Did you get a chance to look at that flyer by chance? Okay, well, just wanted to let you know, man, we're out here to wake up our people, the so-called blacks, the so-called native indigenous people, and the so-called Hispanics, that we are the children of God. And he has a name. His name is Yahawah. So we're just trying to wake up our people to go back to the law, statutes, commandments that are in the Bible and observe and adhere to those laws, because we in this current society would be considered in a lowered estate. You know what I mean? And that unfortunately to some, but it is the truth that is a punishment to our people, because our ancestors, our forefathers, chose to stop listening to the word of the Most High. And he told us, if you guys listen to my words, I'll put you on high. But if you don't, I'm going to curse you. And if my brother wants to bring out Exodus, oh yeah, you're welcome, man. So check out that flyer. Check out our YouTube. Come back, hear the word. We're always here to wake up our people. So again, we got to cast that bait. We got to let people know what we're doing and how they could adhere to the law, statutes, commandments. I don't want to, because time is running short. I don't want to let our people walk by and not try to edify them. You go ahead and bring that out, King, just in case for Exodus. Oh, Salakia. Yeah, come, Salakia. Bring it out.
Isaiah chapter 58 and verse 1. Cry aloud, spare not. Lift up thy voice like a trumpet, and show my people their transgression, and the house of Jacob their sins.
The Water King. So, like I said, when I first got into this and I had the opportunity to get on the microphone and bring out the precepts, I thought of that precept and I would just say, okay, I'm bringing out the word. I'm going to yell it loud, and whoever hears, they're going to hear. And if they have questions, I'll answer it. But then, we should be fishers of men and casting that bait to our people when we see them. Because I was just trying to follow a lesson plan that I had written. But really, I should be able to call my people through the word as they're there and let the Spirit guide me to let the word come out and edify them.
That's right.
And so, the water for that, King. I was talking to my Yakanan earlier this week and telling them, there's been some things in my spirit that I've been edified in through watching videos of fellow camps, but also, through the word that's being spoken by Captain Uriel as well as Officer Yakanan, that continues to edify my spirit and let me understand what we're truly doing. You know what I mean? Because there's some folks who have the understanding that this word is only going to be given to our people and that's it. But I had to understand, from hearing different precepts, that there will be a time when all knees will be bowed down to our people. How you doing, sir? You got a minute for the word of God?
Yeah,
Catholic, that's fine. I got a flyer for you if you want to come grab it. All right, fantastic. So what we're doing is we're waking up our people, the so-called Hispanics, so-called Native Indigenous, so-called blacks, that they are the children of God, and we need to adhere to his word that is written in the Bible within. And that gentleman said he's a Catholic, and, we know up here now that, religion wasn't given to us by the Most High. He gave us laws, statutes, and commandments. And if you want to get Exodus, I believe is it 2 and 1? Or 5:1, where he says, if you hearken unto these words, then these things will happen to you. But if you do not hearken to these words, these curses will fall upon you. Because like I was saying, I paraphrase a lot of stuff because I remember that it was spoken and written, but I don't always recall exactly what precept it is. And that's why I take notes, because I have to, I got to work at it. I got to study to show myself approved. So if you want to bring that out, King, I appreciate that, Tawada.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 1.
Tawada.
And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth. And all these blessings shall come on thee and overtake thee, if thou shalt hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God.
All praises. And it's simple as that, folks. You know what I mean? All we got to do is hearken unto the words of the Most High Yahawah, Baha Yahawashi. Because our forefathers, they got to hear this word through the Most High. You know what I mean? Through Moses as he spoke it. He showed his face to a select few, but then at a time when our people started to go off, when we didn't hearken to the word, Yahawah said, I'm going to hide my face from you guys now. But he didn't leave us completely, because he gave us his only begotten son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus.
That's
but
right.
We know him as Yahawashi. He gave us Yahawashi because he was like, you know what? I get it. You need somebody that you could see in the flesh, that you could hear and see that living example. But then even after a time, our people still continue to do wickedness, and the Most High's design is perfect. And so he took our king away. But he left the word here always through our people and through these written words by the prophets. And so there was that time when we would be without light, walking on this earth. But the word was always there, and that is that light again. And the Most High has blessed us as his people to be woken up in this time. So I was speaking to my Ak Yakanan about how this word comes out. You know what I mean? And yeah, it'd be great if it was just our people here to hear the word, because then we'd be edifying them. But, there's other nations that are walking around. You have Moab, you have the Ammon, and of course we have our adversary that the Bible speaks of, Edom. You know what I mean? You also have Ishmael walking around, and you have other nations. And so it would be silly to think that they don't hear this word coming out. You know what I mean? They may not adhere to it, which I understand. And the reason why they don't adhere to it is because of this precept. So if one of my brothers wants to get Deuteronomy chapter 4, verses 5 through 8, and if we have that in a different version, you go to read it in KJV, but if you want to grab that in the GNT, just so that it's kind of understood, and I'll also help explain it. So Deuteronomy chapter 4, verses 5 through 8, Baba Kasha.
Deuteronomy chapter 4, verses 5 through 8.
Bring it out.
Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Lord my God commanded me, that ye should do so in the land whither ye go to possess it. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. For what nation is there so great, who hath Yahawah so nigh unto them, as the Lord our God is in all things that we call upon him for? And what nation is there so great, that hath statutes and judgments so righteous as all this law which I set before you this day?
The water. Now that. Oh, was there more?
No.
So that was a lot of understanding to be had. But at the beginning, precept chapter or verse 5, Salakia, towards the end, he says, we will be showing the word in front of all these other nations. You know what I mean? And so those other nations, kind of like now, these other nations hear the word that we're bringing out, but the word wasn't necessarily given to them by Moses. Yahawah told Moses to give it to Israel, and as that precept described, It was given to us to be wise, to have that wisdom, to have that knowledge, to exemplify before the other nations. And those other nations seen that, and they're like, man, look at this nation. Look at this nation of people, how wise they are. Look at how their God Yahawah, does for them. You know what I mean? And so they could have seen that and thought, I want to be that, but maybe they didn't. I don't know. But the point of that precept was these other nations observed what we were doing.
That's right.
These other nations were hearing the word come out. And so that's why I always encourage people to read the Bible, because, as much that is explained in those few precepts, when I read it, I was like, man, this just reaches me in my spirit to know what we're doing out here. And just like the precept that says there's nothing new under the old sun, that's exactly what we see happening now. The Most High has chosen this day and age for us to wake up. The Most High has chosen this day and age for us to bring out the word. But understandably, there's other nations that are hearing this word. So if I could please have Deuteronomy 32, verses 8 and 9, and if I could get that in the GNT Slakia. And so we have these other nations hearing that word, and it's not by coincidence or chance. There's a reason these other nations are hearing the word. You know what I mean? And as you read the Bible, you will understand that. And so go ahead, King, bring that out.
This is Deuteronomy chapter 32, verses 8 and 9 in the GNT.
Khan.
The Most High assigned nations their lands. He determined where peoples should live. He assigned to each nation a heavenly being, but Jacob's descendants he chose for himself.
Khan, the water. So at that time, it says plainly in the GNT that the Most High assigned these different nations their lands. He said, you guys go over there. You guys go over there. I'm going to give you this deity. I'm going to give you this deity. And he told our nation, Yasharallah, he said, I am your God. I am giving you the law, statutes, commandments. What I gave those people to go over there is none of your business. What I gave those people there to go in that land and worship is none of our business. Now, when I read that, the way I understood it was these other nations were given a God. How you doing today, folks? Just to let you guys know, because I see you guys checking out what we're doing, just to let you guys know, we're bringing out the Word of God. We're reading out of the Holy Bible. We're trying to talk to the so-called blacks, natives, and Hispanic communities that they are God's chosen people, and that these other nations were given lands, and these other nations were given gods.
That's right.
So if you guys identify with any of that demographic, just know that you may be God's chosen people. Now, not all of us could trace our genealogy back to 1,000 years. We might know who our grandfathers are or what land they are, but in the Bible, it talks about God's chosen people being spread throughout the world. So there are those situations where God's chosen people could be in those other lands. But what we're trying to do is just tell them to go back to the law, statutes, commandments, and observe today as the Sabbath. But just in case you guys are wondering when you're looking over, just want to explain that. So Salakia. So as I was saying is, the Most High gave all these lands and these different nations something to worship. And so when I considered that and thought of that, I was like, you know what? That's almost like the Most High was training those people to be obedient. You know what I mean? He said, I gave you this deity, so go observe that deity, and go stay in that land, because I could only assume and understand that he didn't want that people observing that deity to come over to his people who were worshiping him and confuse them. You know what I mean? Because the Most High is not an author of confusion. The Most High did this to keep people separated and doing what they're doing. Now, my point with that is somewhat of a Bob Ross situation, because I was talking about Bob Ross. And so, do you know who Bob Ross is? What does he do? He paints pictures, right? So that's what I'm going to do, baby. I'm going to paint you a picture. I'm going to paint you a mental picture, because these precepts for me, that's what they do. When I read the words, I think on them, but then a picture comes to my mind. And so the picture that came to my mind when I read that precept about the Most High distributing the people to this nation, to that land, this nation, to that land, and the deities for these nations, I seen, the picture of what we have now. When we put on a resume that we went to college and we studied to be an associate's degree for 2 years, the job doesn't necessarily care that you went to this college, that college, or this college, or you studied this, not that, studied this, not that. They're looking at that to say, oh, you started this and you finished it. So that is kind of what I think of when I think of the Most High sending these nations to their lands with the deity. The way I understood it, he was more or less saying, I'm giving you something to observe to show that you know how to be obedient. Little did they know that they're being obedient to Yahawah because he gave them that deity to worship. You know what I mean? And the reason why I thought that is because, as we know, in the end days when the Malak Yahawashi Hamashiach comes down, he's going to start destroying people, and he's going to call people back to their lands and us back to him. But here's the thing. Do we think that when Yahawashi comes back, do you think he's going to let those nations continue to observe their deity? I don't think so. And I think that's why the Most High designed it so perfectly for them to have that level of obedience to observe the deity that was given to them. Because if the Malak Yahawashi came back and let everybody continue to observe their deity, I think that would just put us in that revolving cycle of some of our people saying, well, I want to do what they do. But that's not how it's going to be. They're all going to bow their knee to one law, and that is through our righteous rulership, if we could exemplify that through our learning and understanding. Did you have a precept, King?
I was just going to show Jeremiah 2:11. This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 2, verse 11. It says, hath a nation changed their gods, which are yet no gods? But my people have changed their glory for that which doth not profit. So just proving the fact that the Most High God has acknowledged that these nations have their own gods that they serve. But there are no gods when it's all said and done.
Con. And so, for me, I tell people, when I read these precepts, so many things come into my mind. And as I said, painting pictures in the minds, that's what I try to do when I bring out these precepts, is I try to let people get that image in their mind of what was then, what is now, and what is to come. Because as we read from Deuteronomy, the Most High has a select people. You know what I mean? So if you could picture that, you could see all these nations, but then the Most High saying, this nation is mine. This nation, I gave these laws, statutes, commandments. And this nation is going to exemplify obedience and righteousness and wisdom and understanding. And he even said, these other nations will see that. These other nations will see us observing his laws, statutes, commandments, and they will acknowledge that as, wow, this nation is wise. But yet they still have their deity that they are observing. Did you have a precept, King? Bring it out.
This is the book of Romans, chapter 9, and verse 17.
Wake him up.
For the scripture saith unto Pharaoh, even for this same purpose have I raised thee up, that I might show my power in thee, and that my name might be declared throughout all the earth.
The water, King. And bring it out, King.
This is the book of Joshua, chapter 23, verse 6 through 9. Be ye therefore very courageous, to keep and do all that is written in the book of the law of Moses, that ye turn not aside therefrom to the right hand or to the left, that ye come not among these nations, these that remain among you, neither make mention of the name of their gods, nor cause to swear by them, neither serve them, nor bow yourselves unto them, but cleave unto the Lord your God, as ye have done unto this day. For the Lord hath driven out from before you great nations and strong. But as for you, no man hath been able to stand before you unto this day.
That's mighty, King. The water for bringing that out. Both of my Akim. And, if only the people at home could see all these different nations walking around. And like I said, this word is coming out no matter what. The Most High will not allow these other nations to shut down his truth. The Most High will not allow these other nations to come up to us and say, what you're reading is false. What you're saying is not true. You know what I mean? I may be speaking through my understanding, but my brothers are bringing it out from the precepts of the Most High's word. And there's no disputing that. And so that's why I try to say, we're going to bring out this word of the Most High, Yahawah, Baha, Yahawashi, no matter what. Because when our King returns, every knee will bow to his greatness. You know what I mean? And how you doing today? Do you have any questions of anything you see here? No? Okay. Do you have a belief system that you observe? Okay. And so I was asking that young lady if she had a belief system that she observes, because I wanted to see, if these other nations, or if she's our nation, if these other nations know their deity that they follow. And so to kind of continue on that point, when these other nations are in those other lands, and I'm going to use the land of Moab for example. The land of Moab, the Moabites, I do not see them going to other countries saying, I want you to believe in my deity. You know what I mean? And that, again, comes back to my mind as the Most High made those people obedient to him through the deity that he gave them. Because he said, you guys believe in this and just keep it to yourselves. And they do. And now we can look at the nation of Ishmael too. Ishmael has a big problem with Babylon. And so do I. You know what I mean? But Ishmael is very strict with their beliefs. You know what I mean? They hold their beliefs dearly to their hearts, their minds. And they enact their beliefs in their lands that the Most High put them in. You know what I mean? Hindus, you know what I mean? All these other nations have their belief systems, but yet they don't push their belief system on other nations. Now, the nation of Babylon, they push their beliefs on everybody. And they wonder why people don't like that. They wonder why people fight against it. It's because they have that understanding of, hey, we're doing our thing in our land. Don't come over here imposing what you think is righteous when really it's not. Because, the Most High gave his righteous wisdom to his people. And his people didn't hearken to that for a time being. And we understand that through the curses that we lived. And again, I'm trying to paint that picture for our people. We were once a righteous people who hearkened to the word of the Most High, but then we seen what these other nations were doing, and we were like, oh, we want to do that. And then the curses came upon us, and we're still living in those curses. But the Most High has blessed some of our elders, our Zaquanium, to wake up and be edified through these precepts. Nat Turner being one of them. You know what I mean? The Most High blessed his eyes and his ears to read the Bible and understand that what was being written was for us, not for the people that were bringing it to us. You know what I mean? And so we had that opportunity to wake up. And those brothers woke up other brothers. And they did it through the precepts. They did it through the word of the Most High. Because the Most High ordained a certain time for his people to wake up. Right. And there's that precept I brought out on a previous Shabbat that shows Israel, the northern kingdom, and the house of Judah, the southern kingdom, would come together to bring out the word. You know what I mean? And that's the time that we're living now, because we have the southern kingdom representative standing before you. We have the northern kingdom representative standing before you. And that's through the grace and mercy of the Most High, because some of our southern kingdom brothers are still heavily under those curses. Some of our northern kingdom brothers are still heavily under those curses. So I wanted to bring out Isaiah chapter 2 from the top, because that also painted a picture in my head of things that are to come, the things that have been, but I want it to come out of the precepts. So if I could please have Isaiah chapter 2 from the top.
This is the book of Isaiah chapter 2 and verse 1.
Okay.
The word that Isaiah the son of Amos saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem. And it shall come to pass in the last days that the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established in the top of the mountains, and shall be exalted above the hills. And all nations shall flow unto it.
I'm just going to touch on that real quick. So, that's one of the reasons I like the KJV, because it talks like that. You know what I mean? But again, those words, that terminology, that that phraseology, it paints a picture in my head. You know what I mean? And through studying and through understanding through the Spirit, we know what these words mean. So as it was saying, you know, Israel and Jerusalem will come up and be a nation, a bigger hill than the other hills. That again exemplifies the other precepts where it says these other nations are those other hills. But Yasharallah is that one big giant hill of people, a nation that will rise above the others. And that is through the grace and mercy of the Most High. Once our people wake up to the truth of who we are and start adhering to these laws, statutes, and commandments. So continue reading, Baba Kishah.
This is verse 3. And many people shall go and say, Come ye, and let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the God of Jacob. And he will teach us his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth the law, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem.
All right. And so I'm hoping this is painting a picture in your guys' minds for those other nations, because that's exactly what that said. These other nations will hear the word come out of Zion. We are Zion. We are Jerusalem. We are Yasharallah. We are bringing out that word. So for those other nations that hear, that's for a purpose. Because when Malak Yahawashi comes back, all your deities, all your belief systems will dissolve into nothing, because you guys will be adhering to the law, statutes, commandments of the Most High. Now that's not to say you're going to be in his favor, because he has already said his chosen people will be his favor. But you got the other nations will be serving Yasharallah, and you will be serving through our laws, our righteousness. And part of that precept, he goes in to say, you know, these other lands, they will flow into Jerusalem. And when I heard that, I was like, you know what? When I think of these other continents, when I think of these other nations, there's things in different parts of the world that get distributed through what do you call that? Commerce. You know what I mean? Like I'll say bananas for an instance. They come from South America because they grow there richly and in abundance. And where do they come to? They come up here to be sold. You've got avocados in Mexico. Those get grown in abundance and they get distributed up here. And I'll say, you know, rice might come from China and it gets distributed here. So that's how I see that precept when it says things from these other nations will come back to Yasharallah. And that's why these other nations, I feel, will be serving the Most High's people. And they will adhere to our laws, statutes, and commandments. Go to bring out those precepts, King Shalakia.
This is Luke chapter 19 and verse 27.
Wake him up.
The words of Yahawashi. But those mine enemies, which would not that I should reign over them, bring hither and slay them before me.
God. And so that goes into what we're talking about. For those that don't want to adhere to the word, they will be that example of obedience. Now, trust me, if the Most High put me and my amigos on a line and only one of us were adhering to the Most High and the other one wasn't, and he says, well, I'm going to show you what's going to happen if you don't adhere to the law, and he slays them before me, I mean, I fear the Most High, so I'm going to obey the Most High. You know what I mean? So let that paint a picture in your head. You know what I mean? Because too many people think that the Most High and his son, Yahawashi, is just sunshine and rainbows. You know what I mean? The Most High is a man of war. The Most High is a man of decency and order. That's why he gave us his law, statutes, commandments, and that's why he gave it to us, so we could exemplify that. Did you have a precept, King? Did you have another precept? Bring it out.
It's the book of Psalms, chapter 106.
Wake him up.
And verse 34 on down. They did not destroy the nations concerning whom the Lord commanded them, but were mingled among the heathen and learned their works. And they served their idols, which were a snare unto them.
Khan, and that to me sounds like those 2/3 of our people. Because again, the Most High has said he has a chosen people. And through the prophecy, it describes who these people are, but it's up to us to utilize that knowledge, wisdom, and understanding to know who those people are. Now, the Tawana to our Zaquanium, who were able to study that and break it down for us to know who those people are, the northern and southern kingdom. So that is why, you know, that precept, it says, there will be our people that see these other nations and mingle among them. Because I know there's been people that wear the ankh. In the world, I had tattooed an ankh on one of my friends because he identified as African American, but he also identified as Egyptians were royalty, so I want an ankh. And so the ankh that I tattooed on him was half of an ankh and half the shape of the continents in Africa. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, now that I know the truth, it's like, man, I was distributing confusion. You know what I mean? And he was embracing confusion. And that's the confusion that this land of spirit, Sodom and Gomorrah in Egypt has done to our people. It has made us think that it's okay to observe the crazy stuff that they do. You want to bring that out, Job 28, Baba Kashal?
This is the book of Job, chapter 28 and verse 28.
Bring it out.
God.
And unto man he said, Behold, the fear of the Lord, that is wisdom, and to depart from evil is understanding.
Khan. And so again, to paint that picture of wisdom is fearing the Most High. And turning away from evil, that is understanding, because we understand what evil is and what it does for us. It destroys us. You know what I mean? When I used to wake up and want to drink every day, I was destroying myself. When I wanted to wake up, drink, and smoke weed all day, I was destroying myself. Not only destroying myself, but I was depleting the money that I was earning. And for what? For nothing. You know what I mean? And so that was the evil that I had to understand that I was doing, and I had to turn away from that. You know what I mean? And so if I could please have Psalms 111 and 10 to kind of follow up on wisdom, because that's the picture I want to paint for our people, is be wise. Go back to righteousness. These laws, statutes, commandments were given to us for a reason, to be an example to the nations. These other nations, they will bow or they will get slaves. And that's by the ordinance of the Most High. That's not my thoughts. Those are the words of the Most High, Yahawah. By Shim Yahawashi. Bring that up, please.
Psalms chapter 110 and verse 111 and verse 10.
Khan.
The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. A good understanding have all they that do his commandments. His praise endureth forever.
Hallelujah.
Khan, and I like that precept because it shows you that there is a beginning. You know what I mean? I don't expect anybody to get into this truth and understand prophecy right away. They must first fear the Most High so that they know that they're going to adhere to his teachings, adhere to the word that's written in the book. You know what I mean? So we need to show that fear through obedience. You know what I mean? Because we don't want to be destroyed out of ignorance. But, the truth of the matter is the Most High already ordained who will be destroyed and who will be given salvation. You know what I mean? But it's our job to do the works and bring it up and lift up thy voice like a trumpet to show our people laws or to show them their sins and transgressions and where they can find the laws so they turn away from that. Gain that understanding to turn away from evil. Bring that out, King.
This is the book of Psalms, chapter 119 and verse 120.
Khan.
My flesh trembleth for fear of thee, and I am afraid of thy judgments.
Khan, and that makes it plain. If you're not scared of the judgments that are to come, then, be prepared to be slaughtered, basically. You know what I mean? But for our people who fear the Most High and tremble, we walk cautiously. You know what I mean? We observe what we do, but more importantly, we need to seek counsel in the precepts to know that if the choices we're making are the right choices. You know what I mean? None of us just walk blindly into the street, a busy street at that, and just think, faith is going to get me through. No, the Bible teaches us be circumspect. Look around. Observe your surroundings before you make that first step. Because you walk into traffic, you're bound to get run over. But if you go into the traffic circumspect, look both ways before you make that step, you're going to have another step to follow because you're obeying the law, statutes, commandments. You're being obedient not only to traffic laws, but you're being obedient to the Most High. Got a precept?
This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 22, verse 3. A prudent man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself, but the simple pass on and are punished.
So there's a lot of easy understanding in these precepts that we can adhere to. You know what I mean? A lot of people look at the Bible and say, nah, that's too much. It's too hard to understand. I'm just going to continue doing wickedness. But then when bad things happen, they go, well, I gave $5 to the homeless guy. I do some good. God knows my heart. It's like, yeah, God does know your heart, and he knows you're being ignorant because you're choosing not to observe the law, statutes, and commandments. Some of the easy stuff, you know what I mean? Just like the Ak brought out. Turn away from wickedness. Turn away from the folly. The Most High didn't give us all these folly days to celebrate. The Most High gave us high holy days to celebrate, and we got one coming up here soon, the Passover. You know, some people would rather celebrate Easter because it has Easter eggs and an Easter egg hunt and a big old glazed ham at the table because it sounds fun and it tastes nice. But the Most High didn't tell us to do that.
That's right.
So that would be that wickedness that we used to celebrate and that wickedness we used to partake in. But once we understood that was folly, we turned away from that evilness. You know what I mean? There's nothing to gain from doing an Easter egg hunt. There's nothing to gain from eating an abominable food other than high cholesterol and a stroke in the future. You know what I mean? But if we observe the high holy day that are given to us in the Bible, you know, that will show obedience. And the Most High will give us strength in our spirit to continue on and wake up our people to do his work.
That's right.
And so I don't really have too much, but again, I want to just be able to paint that picture through these precepts.
That's right.
Because there's a lot of wisdom in these words, and we need to embrace that wisdom. You know what I mean? Because what's that saying? Ignorance is bliss, and we've been enjoying bliss for far too long.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Destroyed for lack of knowledge, right there. Another easy to understand precept. Our people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge, and we do it to ourselves. Because the Most High tells us how not to be ignorant. The Most High tells us what we should do and what we shouldn't do. You know what I mean? And a lot of people, they appreciate that micromanagement. A lot of people need that holding of the hand to guide them through. And the Most High is a gracious and merciful father to his children. But he's also an honorable and austere, or Yahawashi Slakia is an austere man who says, you know what, if you're not going to listen, you're going to get punished. And even the Most High says that too, because he's a man of war.
That's right.
You know what I mean? He's the one who ordained all this for us to experience. So the water for your time, and for all the nations who are hearing this message, you know, there will be a time when you have to adhere to the word. And whether you want to believe it or not, it's going to happen. So the water, Kwam Yashala.
Kwam Yashala.
Kwam Yashala.
Kwam Yashala.
Kwam Yashala.
Kwam Yashala.
I yield my time.